the only country I think that doesn't want American bases in their country is Cuba. I think, and then everybody else, like we work closely with the Somalian government to like help them deal with their problem with terrorism, and like there's no country that like is pissed that America has a military base like in their backyard.
Does Haiti have any? They could use a few.
I mean, Russia doesn't like it.
They keep asking, but we keep saying no.
You're not blaming NATO for the Russian invasion, are you?
No, I was saying that's why Russia justified it. Is they're saying that Putin said we don't want military bases in our border in Ukraine, and then we're like, we're going to do it. And
well, they also
was like, well, fuck
they're
you.
liberating Ukraine from the Nazis that run them.
Yeah, I'm not defending Russia. I'm saying like that's their rationalization for it. Like Putin did say years ago, like I'm going to do something if you try and do this.
My goal was to discredit Russia because I think the reality is nothing. What the reality is and what they say are completely unrelated. The real reason they took Ukraine is they wanted the land, they wanted the breadbasket, they wanted the warm water forest.
He was surprisingly transparent in his interview with Tucker Carlson. Like he was very surprisingly transparent, where he just pretty much came out and said, like, that we have a historical right to this land.
Dude, that guy is obsessed with Russian history. Don't get in a debate with him about 800s leaders of Russia.
I don't know. I don't know why that's surprising to anybody. It would be surprising to me if Biden couldn't. Well, if younger Biden couldn't regale you about the founding fathers in great length. You know what I mean?
If we made our presidential candidates list our existing presidents? That would be so funny.
You can't, because it's not like your wheelhouse. It's not the world that you've existed in for 45 years. For him, it'd be like you not knowing about chlorination and versus saltwater pools or some shit.
Right.
like you know.
Yeah.
Well, the founding father of the saltwater pool, Maya, born from humble beginnings in East Pennsylvania. Like you probably know that kind of shit. Like,
well, Putin had a very interesting take on history at a couple points where he was talking about Poland. Like he basically was like, well, Poland basically forced the Nazis and the Russians to come in and carve up the country. And so he's very like openly said that the biggest political catastrophe of the 20th century was the disillusionment of the Soviet Union. So like, it's pretty clear like what his goals are. I don't know.
He lived through their try at democracy, and like, so that's like when I was born. I was like 2 when that shit was going down or something like that. So it's not something I knew a lot about, but I've been trying to learn more about it. And I saw an interesting thing last night, and they were showing the parallels. They're like, this is what was happening in Russia in like, I don't know, 92 or 93 or something. Like it was poverty, and Russia always looks kind of shitty to be in because it's all cold and they don't dress well for it. You would think they'd have like, we all like white people here wear ski gear, and it's like, man, I bet that's $800 for the shit he's wearing. But they just put on a lot of layers. They got those babushka looks, and then they're like, meanwhile, they weren't watching that old Soviet TV anymore because Western media was here now. This is what was on their TV, and it's like Pam Anderson, Baywatch, like every American TV show back then. It was like a slick dude and like a Lamborghini. The Lamborghini might be able to talk, and like
some big titty broad.
On a tropical beach.
You had Gorbachev in fucking McDonald's commercials. It was just like nothing could have more perfectly signified the end of the communist project than Gorbachev in a fucking McDonald's commercial.
These eggs aren't all rotten.
Media showing what America is. It was eye-opening to me to learn that all the homes and apartments that we show on our television are ginormous. Friends is a great example, right?
Yeah, it would have been like a $5,000 a month apartment. Yeah,
more now.
Back then,
yeah, back then, sure. But all even like normal shows that aren't meant like a middle class family. Harry and the Hendersons, right? That Bigfoot movie. If you guys saw that, that house was dope. Home Alone. Right? Those guys were was flush. Well, it turns out there's a reason for that, and it's that it takes space to film. You want the cameras like 18 feet away from the actors.
Yeah.
So you can't film in a normal sized room, in a normal sized kitchen. You have to have a really big one, and it makes America look super wealthy.
Yeah. It's a leap.
When did Japan like stop with the practice of like mainstream seppuku? Like when did
I have no idea.
World War II, I think it was a thing.
I think we bombed that out of them.
Wait, would you have been against U.S. involvement in World War II, Taylor?
Oh yeah,
probably. It being consistent, like I probably would have been like, Europe has their own thing. They just had a giant war 20 years ago. We're going to get dragged into another one.
You wouldn't have liked sending the money to the Brits probably, because we're sending so much money, and the Soviets as well. The Soviets would have starved out and died if we hadn't sent them enormous amounts of stockpiles of not just food, but like arms. It was a great video I saw the other day. If you're a gun guy, you'd like cream at this. It was fucking Russians about to go fight the Ukrainians, and they were in some old salt mine in Russia, and they cracked open cases of Thompson machine guns from World War II that we had sent them to fight the Nazis. And they're just like brand new in the case from the 30s manufacturing, or 40s maybe. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. We will fight Ukrainians with this. And I was like, holy shit, that's so cool.
Those guns are so sick. They're the coolest looking
gun expert, but none of us are really military experts. I wonder how important the quality of your rifle is in battle. Like I guess the reliability of it matters. But if Kyle, you've seen that trench warfare where the guy got like, I'm going to make it up, 9 kills going through the trenches.
Yes.
Any gun could have done that, right? AK-47, M4 wouldn't have made a difference. Not a bolt action. But
no, I liked his rig. So he had a suppressor. That's one of the reasons they weren't noticing him right away. He had a good optic, and he had he knew how to use that fucking gun. Yeah, you do. Like
I think he touched his
when that gun starts recoiling all of a sudden.
Chest.
I mean, there was one guy.
The optic. I might be wrong. I don't know.
There's so many videos. It's a war.
Yeah.
I saw
this is one the guy who was through the trenches, and I think one of the guys he killed was a Russian blogger or vlogger. With the big beard.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, yeah. That's special forces going into a tunnel and like clearing it out at CQB. I don't know. But, look, I've never fought anybody with a fucking gun, but just operating lots of guns malfunction, and they malfunction when you're standing very still, holding them tightly. If you don't hold a gun tightly, then it can't operate quite the way it should. Okay, like a certain amount of gas is pushing a thing back against a spring that's then coming back forward with the correct amount, and everything's tuned very well. But if the gun's moving backwards when that happens, or if it's fully auto and jiggling, like they fail all the time. And there's names for all different failures. You play Tarkov, you know what I'm talking about. That's kind of close to reality. But
so those Thompson guns might hold them back from the 30s.
Oh, you wouldn't want to use a Thompson machine gun anyway for like dozens of reasons. That thing's heavy as fuck. It uses 45 ACP that's heavy as fuck. It uses stick mags that are like 20 or 30 rounds, or a big drum mag that takes you a year to load.
Were they good at the time in the 30s?
At what they were using them for, like fighting in the Pacific, I know they did really well with just chopping around in the jungle. It's close quarters weapon. It's not something you're like seeing the guy on the hilltop with and pecking at. It's when you bump into a guy like what he's talking about. Sure, it'd be good, but you don't want to take it to the battlefield, right? Like everything has to fit together. And you don't want to be the only guy out there with that 45 caliber World War II machine gun.
But don't you want your soldiers?
You want to yell "mag" and that guy throw you something that goes in your fucking gun. You know what I mean?
They're the best looking gun aesthetically of all time. They're so cool.
What is it? Say it so Zach can show us a picture.
The Tommy gun. Yeah. Tommy gun was just like, I shot one at that gun event and it was awesome. It was way heavier than I thought it would be. Like after shooting it was the regular like wooden stock one. I don't know the length of the gun, but it was
about 2 feet.
Probably about that. It was that, but I was shooting it with a stick mag. And
thank you, Zach.
Shooting this, I was like, I feel so awesome. This is so cool. But then shooting the MP40, I was like, oh, like this makes so much more sense for actually running around and shooting. Like it still looks cool. It doesn't look as cool, but like the MP40 felt like a half empty can of soda compared to this thing.
When I see this gun, I don't even think war. I think Al Capone, Bonnie Clyde, stuff like that.
And the Highwaymen.
Yeah. I watched that. I was on this motorcycle trip, and there's a hotel in Vegas that I was staying at that had Bonnie and Clyde shot up car. And suddenly I became like the deep diving into Bonnie and Clyde lore. I'm looking at all the bullet holes and like what happened to the car. Dude, it's a heck of a story. It's pretty cool. They after they killed, whatever, caught them and shot them or whatever, they like everyone dragged their bodies around. They didn't clean that car for ages, and you could sit in it. People would sit in it and get like brains on their shirt. Like that's the history of that car. It was pretty cool.
Ooh.